All right, magic makers. Today I wanted to talk about something that is either easy for you to do or hard for you to do, and it's exercise. And I want to talk about how do we make exercise a habit even when you hate it. And I'm really big into habits. So how do we let's just boil down habits. If this is the first time you're ever listening to me, you've never heard me talk about habits. Let's just talk about habits. Like it's like we all have habits. Habits, we have so many habits that we don't even think about it because habits are just because you don't think about it because it's just how life just, I'm gonna say, quote unquote, just happens. And if you're listening to this podcast, the title intrigued you because maybe you are someone who's like, God, I'm good for a while and then I ain't so good for a while. Or maybe you're someone who is just like, you just always listen to me and you're like, I just need to listen. Great, love you. But for my new magic makers, like, why are habits important? They're important because they take the guesswork out of the thinking process. Like thinking, like no one wants to make a lot of decisions. I think you've all heard this, that Steve Jobs, he purposely wore, I think it was like three different things, like a black turtleneck, a t-shirt, a black turtleneck, a black t-shirt, and then I think a black button down and jeans and maybe khakis. Like that was it. It took out of all the decisions he had to make in a day, he's like, I don't have to think about my clothes. So if I wear going to say, quote unquote, a uniform, I don't have to freaking think about it. Right. So I think about you, like think about, now that most of us are home, what's your uniform? Right. For me, my uniform is black yoga pants. They could be tight, they could be loose, they could be cropped, they could be shorts, but it's black yoga pants. So we want to take the guesswork and thinking out of a lot of the processes. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't think about if you put water on the brush, or do you put toothpaste on first, then water, or maybe you don't put water on at all. And then you just brush your teeth. Maybe you start in the back, maybe you start in the front, maybe you start at the bottom, right? You don't think about it. It's just what you've been doing. And it's pretty automatic. And so habits keep us accountable, right? If I go back to brushing your teeth, it's automatic. So it just gets done, and same thing with exercise. Exercise can become that automatic habit to help you become accountable to yourself and to your health because you're taking care of it. So habits help us to support. I can speak. Habits support us to succeed. Yes, I got it out of my mouth. Right. So here's the thing. People have different personalities when it comes to building habits, right? I have my people out there, my tribe, you guys love a schedule, right? Put it on paper, make it pretty, some glitter, some colored markers, all the things. Well, some people are like, oh, I can't be that regimented. I can't be that schedule. It makes me feel tied down. Some people love tracking the results, right? They'll be looking at their Apple Watch and saying, are my rings completed? How many steps did I get in? Well, other people despise any of that. My good friend Paula, she would get 10,000 steps and take her Fitbit off. Like she's like, I did my 10,000, moving on, right? Where others are like, how much more can I get? So it all depends on you. So everyone has their preference. So let's dive in and see, what are some of the overarching ways that people establish their exercise as a habit. So the first place, this is my favorite, and that's why I'm starting here. I'm all about small steps. The whole story, the tortoise and the hare, right? The hare just takes off and then trips and falls and then ends up, getting tired out. And then the tortoise is like, boom, 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 and wins the race, right? I want to be a tortoise. I want to win the bleeping race. So, think about it like this, right? So, I have a client who wanted to start running, right? And she's like, I want to be one of those person who can get up and just run, 3 miles. Like that's like, it's, for most people that should take about an hour. And she's like, that's where I want to land. All right. She's not a runner. So I said, okay, instead of you saying 3 miles at this point for her seems like, you might as well run to the moon. So I said, well, what if you just broke it down and you said, I'm going to give myself a year, 6 months, and I'm going to try to work my way up there. So what if we started at just getting out of bed and saying, I'm going to run 5 5 minutes, right? And so even though I'm only running 5 minutes, I could still walk for 30 minutes, right? But it's like I'm committing to 5 minutes. And then the next week, I'm going to make it 10 minutes. And then week after that, I'm going to make it 15 minutes and slowly build to see how far I can get in that amount of time that I've allocated towards that event. Because so many of us, want to go big or go home, but not everyone can go big or go home, right? It doesn't work that way for a lot of people. And so give yourself the grace that maybe, you know what, if I break down my goal a little bit and do it smaller and smaller, I might make it more sustainable for me, right? And if you think about it, like small steps do get the job done. And it's much easier for you to imagine exercising for a few minutes, putting in smaller distances at the beginning, than imagining yourself getting out of bed and running for 3 miles. Because if you're a slow runner, it might not take you an hour, it might take you a little bit longer, and then you're like, you're running down the street and like, when is this going to end? And let's get that out of our head. But if we start chipping away our goals day by day, week by week, your physical and mental endurance start to build. You start to like it. Hopefully you like it if you chose to run, and before you know it, you've achieved the habit that you're aiming for, right? So it's like it's step by step, mile by mile. All right. And then I alluded to this, like kind of like the go big or go home approach. Like you're just going to dive head first. Like you're going to make a decision, take immediate action. And to do that, your motivation, you have to have, I'm going to use a big term here, intrinsic motivation. That means your internal motivation has to be on level 500, right? You have a significant enough of motivation that you are going to just hit the ground and running. And I use this example. Back in the day, there were always all these weight loss shows, right? And then they would go to the person's house and they would clean out their house of all the food. And the person would be like, no, oh my God. And they'd be all upset. Or if you look at, the show, The Biggest Loser, I don't even think that's on anymore. Someone let me know. I might have to Google that later. Anywho, and they would, bring all of these people to, fat camp, and then basically, torture them with exercise. And, if they went from 0 to 60 with their exercise. And for some people that absolutely works. So, I think about it, if you're you're not going to be one of those people who can be carted off to, a fat camp and lord it over by, the Jillian Michaels of the world, think about it. What is something that could, if you wanted to kind of have that big, go big or go home, what could give you that motivation? Could it be, going on vacation, maybe doing something for charity? I live here in Boston, and, roughly, November, December, a lot of people will run the Boston Marathon for the charity of their choice. And, over the course of the, from roughly, February through April, that's when the marathons run. They'll bring on these stories of people who've never thought about running a marathon, but, they're running for a specific cause. And that's their motivation to just, get stuff done. For me, fitness competitions, that was my motivation. Every January, from January to June, I was head first into this fitness competition. And that's all my motivation that I needed, because I was I'm going to have 2 inches of fabric across my buttocks, and I need to make sure I'm hitting the gym. I make sure I'm doing all the things I need to do to have 2 inches of fabric across my ass. And that was my motivation. I have a friend who, she lost over 100 pounds in order to give her dad a kidney, right? So it's if you're going to go big or go home, that motivation has to be a freaking floodlight for you. Because if your goal isn't that overarching motivating, it's tough to get through difficult times. And I've said this, if you're a long-time listener, you have to be that person. In Boston, it gets super butt-ass cold outside. You have to be that person that when it is that cold outside, you need to be able to say, all right, buckle up, Jack. I'm going to shovel my car out and go to the gym. I'm going to put on my boots and an extra pair of long underwear and go out for that run or that walk or whatever it is. You have to have that kind of motivation when the difficult times come. because it has to be something that excites you, that you have to be able to say, like, I'm going to see myself go across this finish line. And so that's one of the reasons why people sign up for like the marathons. We also have another big bike event here in Boston, the PMS challenge, and it's like 100+ mile ride. And, you know, a lot of people start it, and then like, it's just the camaraderie and the mission. It's for a big cancer foundation here in Boston that gets people riled up to do it. So it gets people from, you know, going, you know, sitting on the couch one day to hopping on a bike or lacing up a pair of sneakers to run a marathon. You know, you have to decide what that big like push up the hill looks like for you. The other piece is setting goals. I love setting goals. Like, goals are my jam. But let's talk about goals for a little bit, right? Because, you know, goals have a tendency, you know, sometimes we reach a little bit too high. You know, we're chasing a brass ring. And if you think about the merry-go-round carousel, you know, it's like you have to have the right timing, the right speed of the carousel to reach out and grab that ring. So whenever I'm working with my clients and I'm talking about goals, I'm like, all right, let's work what I call the reps, right? Let's make this go through our reps formula. So I'm going to share that with you. And also, I have a podcast all about, you know, where I go into explicit detail about the reps method. So basically, the first thing is like, if whatever goal I'm setting, I have to ask myself, is it realistic? For what's going on in my life right now, is it realistic? You know, so if I were to say train for a marathon, train for this big bike race, am I, you know, I have a friend who her son is an elite baseball player. And he is, you know, pretty much from March through August, like running all over the country in baseball tournaments. Is that a good time for her to think about, you know, committing to a bike race? You know, could she, you know, and then it makes you have to think like, can I get a bike somewhere? Can I get in the hours of training that I need? You know, so start to think about like, you know, whatever your goal is, like what's going on in your life and is it realistic? And then I think this is the most important piece. Are you excited about it? Right? I see so many people, especially when it comes to exercise, you know, you'll see a friend, they'll lose the weight and you'll be like, hey, Joan, what you doing? And Joan's like, oh, I'm going to CrossFit 10 days a week. It's amazing. I'm doing Soul Cycle. I'm doing this. And then you're like, okay, I'll do it. And then you don't like it. You know, it has to be something that you look forward to. When I was working in corporate and I was a workaholic and I just had to break free from that workaholic, I found this kickboxing class that I absolutely adored. And I, you know, sat across from my boss and I said to her, you know what, on Monday and Wednesdays, I'm going to kickboxing and class starts at 5:30. So I'm leaving here at 5 every Monday and Wednesday. I will stay as late as you want on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. But on Monday and Wednesday, my booty is out. I'm going to this kickboxing class. So that's how excited that you have to be. You have to make a plan for it. You know, you have to look in your world and say, how is this going to fit into my world? Because so many people are like, oh, the day got away from me. No, you didn't have a plan. So yes, the day is going to get away from you. The time always has a way of being filled by other things, unless we decide how we're going to fill our day. And lastly, it has to be sustainable. You know, I see all of these, like, you know, the 75 hard and these 30-day challenges. Yeah, I can do anything for 30 days, but I'm talking about day 31. I'm talking about day 76, right? What can you do for the rest of your natural born life? That's where, you know, when people set goals, I actually want I want you to succeed. And, you know, some people thrive on goals. And to be honest, you know, regardless of your habit formation personality style, it's a good idea to take some of the elements that I just talked about, being realistic, being excited about it, creating a plan. And ultimately, it's the sustainability piece that's going to give you that long-term goal that we are looking at. I alluded to this in having a plan. There has to be a schedule. I prefer it. And here's the thing, right? So I know some people feel like the schedule keeps them pinned in, that they're like, I don't want to be tied down. Trust me, I have I call it structured flexibility. And so for the most part, you know, my workouts happen on Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. That's pretty much when my workouts happen. And I leave Thursday and Friday for what I call spillover. So maybe on, like, again, I live in New England. So maybe on Monday there's a snowstorm. So maybe I decide, you know what, is it worth me driving to the gym in a snowstorm? I'll just go on Thursday. Is it same thing on Tuesday? Or maybe on Tuesday I have a doctor's appointment. So it's like, oh, I don't know if I can like squeeze it all in. So I'll go on Thursday or go on Friday. Right. So it's like I have a schedule of these are the days I'm going to go, but then I also have a plan B so that if something comes up, it's going to be there. And I physically put it in my calendar like an appointment that I cannot break. So think about like you put your dentist appointments in there and that doesn't make you feel pigeonholed. You put your, getting your hair done, dinner with a friend, whatever things you put in your calendar. This is the same thing. Put it in your calendar because what gets scheduled gets done. All right. The other piece is accountability. All right. Here's one of the biggest, questions that I always get to my clients when, they come to me and I'm like, okay, like, where do you need the biggest amount of help? And they say accountability. Right. So I'm the person who you're going, like every week I'm going to say, what you told me you were going to do 3 times a week at the gym, you were going to eat like this, you were going to sleep, this is going to happen. And you're going to report back if you did it. And so I'm just the person who, like, if you told me you're going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm the person who's going to say, did you do X, Y, and Z? Now, when you say that, I am not an ogre, but I'm not going to be the person like, oh, boo, 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 boo. No, that's not me. I'm gonna be like, all right, so you said you're going to do X, Y, and Z, but you only got X done. Let's take a look at your week. Why weren't we able to get Y and Z? And it's not from a, you suck. It's from a place of, okay, did we take off more than we could chew? And it was just kind of a random week. Or is every week we're tripping over our own feet? And so then here's, as a good coach, which I am, I have to say, okay, girl, every week you try to do these 3 things and you're only getting 1 thing done. We are taking on too much. Let's get real with ourselves. It's not possible for you right now in this moment to do all 3. So out of the 3, where do we want to focus our time? Because all 3 are going to help you get your goals. But it's like, we can't, keep, I don't want you to feel bad every week. I want you to get some wins in your belt, because when I get more wins under my belt, guess what? I want to freaking do stuff. So let's start to get some more wins under our belt. And that's how I provide you with accountability. It's like, if you tell me what you want to do and you're doing it, if you're not, it's like, all right, how do we recalibrate? How do we adjust what's going on? And maybe it's just a little bit too much right now. And that's all right, right? We all think that, maybe we're in a period of our life, they're like, yeah, everything's fine. And then you're like, damn, like kids get sick, you get sick, work all of a sudden, goes from 0 to 60, right? Things can happen, but that's what a good coach is. I provide you with accountability, but I also, we brainstorm solutions around when you get stuck in the mud. An exercise partner, right? Have that workout partner, a person that you go for a walk with. We're less likely to blow someone else off versus ourselves. So think about it. If I know I have someone waiting for me in a park at 7 a.m., I'm less likely to roll over and head back to bed for that person. So think about it. Is there a person that you currently work out with that, or would like to work out with? Maybe there's just someone at the gym who's always there at the same time, and you'd be like, hey girl, like, can we like text each other, right? It's not weird, because if that person is at the gym all the time, they're not going to be like, bug off, right? They see you coming in all the time, putting in the work. All right. Join a team. That's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people, at least here in Boston, like it just gets so cold and snowy and during the winter time. And, a lot of people join these marathon teams as a way of community and camaraderie, right? So think about that. Do you need to join a team? My Fit Girl Magic group, on Facebook, I do that because I know that there are people out there who, like, you don't have friends that talk about nutrition and health. They don't do that. So I know that women needed a place to talk about that. The other place, be a role model, right? You don't, for me, this is huge. This is my huge accountability. I can't tell a client, you know, put it in your schedule, go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week, eat like this. I can't tell a client do that. Meanwhile, I'm sitting over here like, hey, pass the bonbons, and I'm drinking wine out of a straw. I want to be able to say, you know what, everything I tell you is stuff I either currently do or I've done in the past. So I have the, visceral knowledge of it. The other piece is that, like, you want to be a role model for people around you, like, you're the person who's like, you are the healthy person, and people start coming to you and be like, Suzanne, you look good. You've been working out. Like, how are you doing it? Same thing for your kids, right? You want to be that, I always love, I've been coaching for a long time, and a lot of my clients, their kids are now, teenagers. And it's so good to see them like, oh, now my daughter goes to the gym with me. And, it's just like, it's just what they've seen growing up, that, like, mommy works out. I have a good friend, Carrie, she's a trainer as well. And she works with a lot of moms. And she said, you just have to, like, work around the kids. And she always posts videos of her working out, and her kids are zipping all over the place, and she's just doing her workout. She's got her headphones on, and she's just doing her workout. And as long as no one's on the ground bleeding or crying, she just keeps going. So think about that. The other piece, it has to be fun. You have to look forward to it. I told you about my kickboxing class. It was like, that was what was my big jump start for working out. It was that I absolutely love the class. And so I teach group fitness. And so I know what it's like, that it's like, some days the last thing you want to do is get your booty in the car and go to class. But I know that if I, as the instructor, I make a connection with you, right? I smile at you. I know something about you. We talk about random stuff other than fitness. You're like, I'm invested in you. And I do that not because, like, oh, I want you to come to a class. I do it because I literally care about people. I do. I absolutely care about people. I like talking to people. I like just asking questions. If I wasn't a fitness person, I probably would be a reporter, because I love finding out people's stories and what makes them tick, and just like random things that we talk about. I have a client, she likes to ice skate. So she started taking ice skating lessons. Great, right? She looks forward to it. It's in her calendar. It is fun for her. It's a stress reliever. I have other clients who rock climb. I have another client who's into, like, MMA, so find something that just, like, brings you joy. My husband is all about competition. So every time we go to a class, it has to be something that he could compete against. There was a old, before they went out of business, a company called Flywheel, right? He loved being on the torque board and loved, being able to look at everyone else in class and be like, I'm beating you. Like, he loved that. So think about what it is that, brings you joy. Reward yourself. Now, here's what I'm going to say. Not with food, right? You're not a dog. You're not a lab rat. So think about your reward. So it could be, you're going to get them, if you work out for 3 out of the 5 days that you say you're going to work out, you're going to get yourself a massage. Back in the day, I used to be like, oh, you would buy, some songs on iTunes, or maybe you'll, binge watch a show if you work out, so think about, like, what is a reward that is actually motivating for you, and just think about, like, what's going to, like, get you feeling excited and motivated. It's like you start to like visualize, like, maybe it is a massage. There was he, like, unfortunately moved back to Romania. But he was a really good masseuse, and, made me think about, like, moving to Romania. But I would be like, all right, every month, I'm going to reward myself with going to see him. And he was absolutely fabulous. And so like I would like look forward to like, all right, if I don't shaggle daggle, I'm not going to be able to see get a massage this month. We talked about this, like training for an event. For me it was my fitness competitions. Like it was like, I had one typically in March, and then I had another one in June. And from literally January 1st, I just like started to like see myself on stage, like, okay. And it helped me to crystallize my choices, right? It was like, I would ask myself these better questions. Okay, Kim, if I have this Reese's peanut butter cup, is that going to get me on stage? Right? If I roll over and don't go to the gym today, how is that going to help me get on stage? And so that event would always ask me the question. So same thing with, if you're preparing for a marathon or preparing for whatever other thing you might be training for, you start asking yourself those questions. And then also like you're very clear about what it is that you are actually trying to achieve, and also ask you like to have the courage to like break free from your typical like I'll get to it patterns, and really kind of push you a bit out of your comfort zone. The other place is like, are you someone who likes variety, or do you like a routine? Right? So if you think about it, like I've had a friend who like, she's a Zumba-aholic, like Zumba all day. And then she was like, oh, I've been Zumbaing forever. And she's like, I think I want to try something else. Great. Then she's like, she went to a spin class, and she was like, it's absolutely fabulous. And she started to now, instead of it being like Zumba, it was more like spin Zumba. Like, so someday she would go to spin, someday she would go to Zumba, but she found that she was able to get a little bit more variety into her workouts. She got excited again, right? She found her mojo again. So think about that. You have variety could be the key. If you think about a gym, when I was a group fitness director, you looked at like the bands of time that were like the more popular times, and you always wanted to make sure that you are scheduling different classes at those peak times that were different, so that on Monday, if I was someone who came 5 days a week, right? On Monday, say I came and I was getting more of a cardio focused class. On Tuesday, I could come and I would get more of a strength focused class. On Wednesday, I was getting more of a combination class. On Thursday, maybe I was getting more of like a cardio and more of like a stretchy type class. On Friday, so it was like always something a little bit different to keep your variety. And if you think about variety, things like CrossFit and Orange Theory, like every day you go, it's a very different workout, because some people need that. Where other people in their life want to build a routine, in my Fit Girl Magic Society, I give you a new workout every month. So that way you could see progression, that when you started the workout the first week, you might be either adding weight by the end of the month. You might not be as fatigued by the end of the month. So you want to be able to, some people just like to be able to see their progressions. Other people like, I don't need progression. I just need to not be bored. I need every day there to be something different. So, everyone, as they say, there's a lid for every pot. So for every way that you want to exercise, there is a way for you to get gains out there. The other piece, make it a ritual, right? So when my husband and I first started working out, we started meeting with a trainer, shout out Mikey D, and we met at 7 a.m. every Saturday morning. And so every Friday night, my husband and I had a early date night, and we would we would both leave work and we would meet at 6 o'clock and we would have sushi. And we'd have sushi because we had to go to bed early to get up for our 7 a.m. workout. And then every Saturday morning, we would go to this place for breakfast. And that was we go for the place for breakfast, and then we go to the grocery store. That was our ritual, right? It was surrounded around this morning workout. So it could be that, you start listening to a certain song to get yourself into the zone. Think about if you watch sports, you'll see the athletes, regardless of the sport, got their headphones on, and they're walking into the arena, walking on the court or field or whatever sport it is, and they have the headphones on and they're listening to whatever it is that pumps them up. That gets them just ready to rumble, right? So think about, what is that ritual? For me, my ritual is I set my clothes out the night before, right? I go to bed and I'm like, okay, I know I'm working out tomorrow. And I literally set out everything from bra to underwear to socks. So all I have to do when I get up in the morning is put it on, right? Because at 5:30 in the morning, you don't want to do too much thinking, right? So if I don't have to worry about my clothes, it's set out. I also know what the workout is going to do. I know what I'm doing. So in the morning, there's no thinking. It's like, all right, Kim, it's Monday. This is what you're doing. Clothes are picked out. This is the workout. Just do the work. Just do the do. Here's where I have to ask you, are you more about the beginning or are you more about the end? And so here's what I say, are you someone who likes to just start something new and just try to see if you can get better at it? Or are you someone who's more about, I just want to start something and finish it through, right? So the best example is I had a client on Angela Gargano, and she is a former Ninja Warrior participant. And she talked about when she was starting to learn all the different obstacles, her ninja coach said, okay, there's a wall that you have to that has all these little pegs that you have to walk across this wall. So he said, all right, he goes, this is the wall. He's like, I'm going to give you a week to get across the wall. And she's like, a week? I'm going to get across it right now. She wanted to be a finisher. He was treating her, he was like, everyone's a beginner, right? There's I think Bruce Lee said this, everyone was once a disaster before they became a master. And so she wanted to be a master, and the coach was like, everyone is a disaster. And so she tried to go across thinking you don't know, and she was humbled. So I want you to think about what's your mentality when it comes to this? Do you want to just get in and just crush, or you I want to get in and just see my progress over time? So think about that. And then lastly, what happens if, your habits aren't sticking, right? We've talked about the different personalities that are out there, but it's what if you're just no matter what I do, no matter what I try, it's not working out. So the first place is we have to go with our mindset. The first place is that everyone makes mistakes. So give yourself grace, right? Everyone trips over their own feet multiple times. I posted a video. I film the exercises that I give to my clients, and I was doing this one-legged thing and literally fell on it. And I posted that. I was like, look, I did this and I fell on my butt. Right? It happens. But here's where you have to think. It's think about a gymnast, right? A gymnast falls off the beam. Does she dissolve into a puddle? No, she's I fell off the beam, and then she's back on. And she has to have the mindset that I'm back on, and whatever the move is I'm going to try to nail, I'm going to nail it the next time, right? So I want you to start to get to that philosophy that it's I might have missed a day of working out, right? It could be a snow day. I could have been sick. Great. But when the next scheduled time, if I work out on Monday, and again, I work out on Wednesday, if for some reason I miss Monday, I'm not going to miss Wednesday. I'm going to make sure I'm there on Wednesday. And if I miss on Wednesday, it's going to be hell or high water reason for me to meet that. The other thing is check your ego, right? Don't get caught up in the shoulds, right? I should, let's go back to the Angela example. She's like, I should have been able to go across that peg wall, like boom, boom, boom. No, right? We got to check our ego and say, all right, the coach said it's probably going to take him a week to like figure out the movement across it. So I'm going to check myself if I'm going to wreck myself. I'm a James Clear fangirl, and he has this amazing example about an ice cube melting. So I'm gonna read that from you. So he in the book Atomic Habits, he talks about this. He says an ice cube in a room, it just sits there and nothing happens, right? So think about it. When it comes to us and us developing a habit, we're like, I've been doing this for like a day and like freaking nothing is happening. And then you raise the temperature in the room by 1 degree. Still nothing happens. So, maybe I've been doing it for 2 days, 3 days, and I look in the mirror and I'm like, nothing's happening. And I'm still not motivated to go to the gym, right? So now think about if I move it up another degree, still nothing's happening. Another degree, nothing's happening. But all it takes is 1 degree above freezing before it begins to melt. And that melt isn't like a deluge. It is you might see a droplet, another degree, a few more droplets, another degree, a few more droplets, right? So as you are thinking about this analogy, it's like it helps us to stop thinking about these immediate results, right? Because we don't expect our ice to melt immediately. We think about, we put like a boatload of ice in our glasses and we're pissed if that ice melts really quickly. So the same thing is that, every degree that we change, that's us, right? Every degree we're adding to the melting of our old ways of doing things, are melting the ways of our old ways of seeing things, increasing our capacity for greatness. Right? It's at 1 degree at a time is the best way that we are going to maintain these steady exercise habits. And, the other piece is like, ask yourself why. Why do you want this? Right? I ask my clients this all the time. That is like the number one factor. Is like, 1, get clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve. And 2, why the heck do you want this? Right? And ask yourself why 5 times. So that you really like refine it down to like, why do I want this? Oh, I want to lose weight. Why do you want to lose weight? I want to lose weight because I want to feel healthier. Okay, why do you want to feel healthier and lose weight? Because I want to get off the pills. Okay, why do you want to get off the pills? I hate taking pills, and I hate when my doctor tells me I'm fat. Right? So it's like asking yourself why 5 times. Also, have the courage to do something different. Right? If I have a client, she's a slow digestive system, but she eats the same stuff over and over again. And I said, well, have you tried eating different things to see if it's truly your digestive system or is it truly your choices? And she's like, well, my choices are organic and, on the thighs of virgin and all that magical stuff. But I was like, that's great. However, maybe it's not a good choice for you. So if we start to incorporate a few different things, one at a time, we could start to see what truly is going on. Same thing with the workout. If you're like, I've always run and you've never strength trained, maybe it's time to at least try a little strength training just to see if that might give you a little kick in the rump shaker to keep going. Now, I've given you a lot of food for thought. So I'm going to leave you with this thought, right? Close your eyes. Imagine yourself in 6 months. Okay. You've set this goal. You're like, all right, I'm on target. I'm doing it. But now imagine if you failed, right? Write down what caused you to fail. Like literally like set a timer for like 15 minutes and say, okay, let's just go back to the very beginning. I talked about this running habit. So say I want to run, 5 minutes a day, and every week increase by 5 minutes. What if I didn't do that? What were the obstacles? What did I trip over? What stops me from consistently being able to do that? That's what I got to start thinking about. I got to start thinking about what are the things that trip me up and how I can start to circumvent them so that you can start to begin. If X happened, then I will do Y. So if my kid continually misses the school bus and that causes me not to be able to get my 5-minute run in, then do I shift my run to later in the day? Or do I have to do something to ensure that Jimmy gets himself on the bus, right? So start to think about like, what happens if I fail? what are the obstacles? And not in a beat the tar out of myself, like, okay, let's start to like, stuff is going to happen. I was a meeting planner for a really long time, and I always had to have a plan B. What if I got there and the room was smaller than they told me it was going to be? What if I got there and my stuff didn't arrive? That happened to me. What? Yeah. So I always have a plan B in my head percolating so that I'm never caught flat-footed, right? So at the end of the day, creating an exercise habit may not be simple, but it is worth the time and attention to find out what works for you and what sticks. So magic makers, I would love to hear how this is landing with you. What are you thinking? What are your big ahas, your takeaways? Always, I'm reachable. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on the gram. You could shoot me an email. Hello at KimBarnesJefferson.com. All right, ladies, it has been a fabulous show, and I will talk to you next week.